When you hire a vendor, do not compromise on the scope of work. Hey there, it's Eric J. Olson. If you hire a vendor or someone to do some work for you and you agree on a scope of work and you agree on a price, you really need to be somewhat inflexible when it comes to modifying either. Now, here's what I mean. Now, this is especially relevant, and this happened to us very recently, where we agreed on a price, we agreed on a scope, and then the vendor started to change the scope. And at first we were like, well, it's not that big of a change in scope. And then he tried again to change the scope. And at a certain point, we realized that the new scope was not what we had in mind. And we also realized that we had allowed his initial suggestion of changing and reducing the scope. We had allowed that to happen. And that was a mistake because then he tried again. And all of a sudden, we were agreeing to a price for something that we didn't even want. The original product had morphed so much by the time that second round of suggestions on the scope of work came that we didn't even recognize it. We literally sat in a meeting. We said, we want this scope of work. And he said, I can do it. Here's the price. And we agreed. Well, if you go through that, then you should not be agreeing to a change in scope just, for whatever reason, really. Anytime there's a change in scope of work, and especially if it reduces to something like that you weren't initially interested in, you have to really question why that's happening and if that's actually what you want. You're not stuck in an agreement if the vendor decides to reduce the scope of work or change it to a point where you don't even want that thing anymore. That means you can get out of that scope of work if you want. That was an option for us, but I went back to the vendor and I said, no, that's not what we want. As a matter of fact, the original suggestion, that's not what we want either. We're going back to the original scope. What we said we wanted and what we agreed on with you is what we still want. So I needed to make that happen. And he understood, and he's going to make it happen. Hopefully. We're still in the process of getting that deliverable. But I think it's a good lesson learned. Like, the moment that you compromise on the scope of work, especially if it's not something you actually want in the end and the price doesn't change, it's a problem. But no matter what, if you don't want it, then don't agree to it. How much more successful would you be if you could harness the experience of a group of successful business owners? If you could learn from their successes and avoid mistakes they've made in the past? Array Mentors provides the framework and the guidance to help you find your way, get you on the right path, and accelerate your journey to more money and more success. Check out the details at arraymentors.com.